Hi, I'm Pastor Kerrene, and welcome to today's Christian Women. I am glad that you could join me today as I have a very special guest with me, the author of Picture on the Wall, a very good friend of mine. I like to think of her as a very good friend of mine, Sara J. Livingston. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me today on your birthday. I'm so excited. Happy birthday.
Thank you. I am thrilled to have you here. It was a surprise that you were here, and I am just delighted. You wrote one of my favorite books in the world, and Picture on the Wall is not something that you will soon forget, and I encourage everyone to read this book. So tell me, what's been going on?
It's been proofreading and everything for the second book, so that is definitely coming out this year.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Tell me about my favorite character, Paula.
Okay. The title of the book that I've written now is called Picture on the Wall.
Okay.
And it
now,
is...
Let's just hold that up because it is a very good book and one that you will definitely enjoy, Picture on the Wall. Check this out, ladies. You're going to love this story. Go ahead.
Okay. It's a Christian fiction love story set in 1968 and has true-to-life characters. Mm-hmm. The main characters are Maggie, Luke, Jennifer, and Jeremiah. And the story starts out with Maggie and Luke, and then it goes into the other two characters while Maggie and Luke are still a intricate part of the story. But what it is that they come from broken homes, kind of torn apart by alcoholism, the death of a parent. And through the story, they're brought together, and the Lord brings them together in such a way that it helps them to bring peace in their lives, and it shows the love of God in their lives in a very unique way, too.
Yes, it is
Yes.
very unique, and I don't want to give it
Yeah,
away
I know.
because you really have to read this book. It is just fantastic. As a matter of fact, you know, last week I reread it.
Did you?
I did. I
Yay.
reread it and I said, yes, this is so good. Because unlike a lot of romance novels, it's not full of filth, and yet it has all the romance that you could possibly want in a novel. How did you come up with a concept?
Well, it started with, you know how your parents tell you lots of stories of when they're younger, and you hear all these great stories, and my dad had all these wonderful classic cars. To me, they're classic. To him, you know, they were
Yes.
the coolest cars of the time. You know, the SS Camaro and the Mustang Fastback, and so like all these really neat cars. And so I would hear stories, and actually the first chapter is loosely based on my parents, because he actually pulled that whole shot in the parking lot of Red Barn. Have you heard of Red Barn Restaurant?
Sure.
Yeah. And what he did is he got chicken grease, and he greased the back tires of his car, and then he jumped, he had a helmet on, and he jumps into the driver's side window of the car, floors it, and leaves a trail of fire across the whole parking lot. And that's how when my mom had first met him. And so that is the beginning of the book. And it kind of started there with my parents. They were a pretty big inspiration of it, and some of the neat stories I heard. And then it took off on its own venue, like its own inspiration after that.
So your dad was the bad boy,
In
or
the
just
beginning.
trying to be impressive to your mom?
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the beginning.
Same thing. Now, you're a wife, a mom. How many kids do you have?
2 boys,
2 boys, and they are how old?
16 and 11.
Wow.
And
I
we're
remember when they were just,
Yeah,
wow.
I
Oh
know.
my goodness.
I know.
Okay, now, you're a stay-at-home mom? What do you think is important about being a stay-at-home mom? Not everyone can do that,
Right.
but what do you find most rewarding about being one?
I think it is a blessing, and it isn't something that I was always able to do. When the kids were younger, I worked sometimes upwards of 60 hours a week, and that was really hard for me because I missed them a lot. And so I don't take for granted having time with them now. But I'm able to stay home with them and do and see things that I wouldn't normally be able to. I'd hear secondhand, and I'm able to work too, like my writing, and I'm working for a publishing company now. Did you hear that?
Really? No,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, it's called Word Productions, and
Wow.
they do publicity for publishers too. So if other publishers want to publish, they do that also.
How does that work? Publishers publishing?
They help to publish too, help to
Okay.
print and publish everything, and
Okay.
for other publishers. They've done some pretty amazing covers. One was for Joel Rosenberg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I help with publicity.
You'd be very good at that. I can
love
see
it.
that happening. Yeah.
It was a really good fit because I was already doing setting up book signings for Picture on the Wall. Now my publisher for Picture on the Wall was setting up a lot of them, but on the side, you know, I was contacting bookstores and stuff, you know, and I was having a lot of success with it, and I was really giving glory to God because the doors were opening as I was calling. And so when I was contacted by Word Productions to do publicity, it just seemed like the perfect fit. I said, absolutely.
Now you're working, you're raising the kids, you're taking care of your husband, which is an important thing. How are you finding time to write?
Well, I do it pretty much when I can. Like if I'm just online or I'm Facebooking or something, then I'll have another tab open, like a Microsoft Word file, and I'll be like, you know, checking it for grammatical errors or whatever.
Are you getting any inspiration from Facebook people, characters on there? There's quite a few. Do you?
I don't. Well, maybe sometimes some things you read on there, and there's a lot of Christians, a lot of pastors, a lot of other authors. So yeah, I think so, because when I think about it, I'm actually part of a group on there that's Christian writers.
Oh, okay.
And they share feedback, they share publishing ideas and marketing ideas and, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, I would say Facebook is helpful in that way.
While you're online and you're working, because you seem really busy, how do you sleep? When do you sleep?
Whenever I can get a chance.
Whenever you get a chance, okay. You have a 16-year-old now.
Yes.
Dating,
driving age.
Dating and driving.
Yes.
What advice do you give?
For the driving, be careful. Listen, pay
Don't
attention.
wreck the car.
Yes, pay attention, and you know, study and get, you know, study to show yourself approved in that area, because it's quite, you know, a 2,000-pound weapon out on the road, and he's very, you know, good about that. And when I teach him things, he really respects what I say to him and takes it all in and learns it all.
Now that you have the 16-year-old that's driving, do you travel with him?
Well, we haven't gotten that far yet.
You're not that brave.
Well, no, we haven't gotten that far in the driving process yet.
Okay.
So
he's
it's
still
the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's not ready to go out with you. Because I taught my nieces, I shouldn't have, but.
Oh, I'm sure he did great.
Well, yeah, I did. Them, not so much.
It's hard. When you're first learning, it's really hard. I mean, the things that you like, because I learned how to drive on a standard. So
Really?
you can imagine, I was stalled out on a highway in 5th gear and couldn't figure out how to get it back into 1st. And I was scared to death.
Of course.
And the traffic's coming right at me and I'm blocking the lane. It was a very big learning experience, but I'm okay, obviously. But
Yeah.
So that part's hard, but what about your?
You're going through this for the first time, and there are a lot of women that are approaching where they're going through raising a teenager and still having a younger sibling or son at home. Any advice? How are you coping with these teenage years?
I think the best thing to do is to listen. When your child talks to you, when they're upset, let them talk. Listen to them without criticism and hear what they have to say. And even if you don't 100% agree with what you're hearing, at least listen to what they're saying. Because, I mean, just for, I think, anybody, it's important to be heard. And even if the parent doesn't truly understand what's happening, just the child feeling like they're heard and they're loved plays a big role in their self-esteem.
Certainly.
In the way they view themselves. You know, and in parents, you know, I had this thing on my wall when I was a teenager, and it said that, you know, criticism is really difficult on a kid. It makes them, I don't know if it was critical or if it made them disappointed in life, but you have to be extremely careful. That's the thing with the book too, you know.
Yeah, I was coming right back to that.
Okay, can I jump?
Please, go ahead.
With the book, there was a review that was done through readandreview.com. And the review was done in such a way that I was kind of surprised, because usually it would be from the viewpoint of maybe the love story or the young people that are in it, because the young people that are in it are 16, 17 to 20. But it was from the viewpoint of a parental, and what effect we have on the lives of our children, as far as Maggie, who is one of the main characters, her father was an alcoholic, extremely abusive, even physically, verbally, in every which way. And her mother was extremely passive, which was not a good combination, because even though her father was giving her a hard time, her mother wasn't stepping up and saying, don't treat my child, or our child, this way.
Right.
Don't talk to her this way. And so I liked the review that I got on there, because it made me, even as the author who wrote it, see it from that perspective. As it's very important, the way that parents raise and treat their children.
What kind of response have you gotten from women who've read this?
They love it.
Yeah,
they love it.
I can imagine. This is a really good book. I absolutely adore this book. I even loaned it out to my niece so that she could read it, and then she kept it too long, so I kind of took it back. But
I'll give you a copy today. You can
okay.
keep it. Okay.
Then she can have my old worn out one, and I'll keep a nice fresh one. But in the course of writing it, because the kids in the book are young, how did you make it so that it appeals to grown women?
I think that the story is it's so fun, and it has so many aspects that are true to life, that when you're reading, you're like, oh wow, what's going to happen next? I can't wait to find out what's going to happen next. And it's kind of a page turner, and that's I don't know if maybe that's just my writing style, that I write it that way, but that's how it ended up. Like I didn't plan any which way. I didn't even have a title for it. When I first wrote it, it was handwritten in journals, which I don't recommend.
I can imagine you wouldn't.
It was a pain to transfer it to type, but I did. And the second book I wrote in a Word document, but so it just kind of was unplanned. I don't even know if I was going to publish it in the beginning. I just kind of wrote it and prayed a lot when I felt stuck. And asked the Lord what direction He wanted me to go in with it, because that was a major, very, very important, because I believe that, it was at my heart to always write in my, but I really believe that it was the Lord that was leading me to do that too.
How did you end up in a romance novel? I mean, most Christian authors aren't going in that direction.
And even fiction at that.
That's true.
Because most Christian writers are maybe self-help or pastoral.
Or giving some devotional readings.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I really feel like there's a great demand now for today's younger people to have something that they can pick up and they can read that is morally sound, that is something fun to read, and it's not in your face, over the top, preachy at them. It's just a fun read, but also gives them the tools that they need to learn more about the Lord too at the same time. Definitely
so. One of the things that I really enjoy is the fact that it's set in modern times, because you can find semi-Christian romance novels, but they're set like in the 1800s, and she's out on the farm, and we're city people. We don't know anything about that. She's either on the prairie or she's deciding which husband she's going to marry because she has to get married. Someone has to work the farm.
Or she's a mail-order bride.
Yes, a mail-order bride. And yet, here's a novel that's set in today's time, using modern vernacular, and yet it's clean. And it makes you smile while you're reading it. And obviously, I picked up on a character that isn't even a major character, but I love Paula in here.
I wrote a scene for you. I did.
Thank you.
I did. I wrote how she met her husband, Danny. And yeah, she's a pretty good character, I think.
She is. She's quite interesting. I don't know why I picked up on her. All of the characters are interesting. Did you have a hard time fleshing these characters out? I mean, I know that you get a skeleton, and you have an ideal, a concept of what they're going to be.
I just kind of wrote as I went along.
Okay.
I went where the inspiration took me. And as I went along, I thought, well, what would each character do? How would they react to this situation? So I tried to make them as true to life as possible. Like, if they're in a situation where, say they're fishing, or, they're doing different things, how would she react to putting a worm on the hook? And how would he react to her being grossed out by putting the worm on the hook, that kind of thing.
That would be me. That's why I don't fish, that worm, no. Did you ever get the characters confused in your head?
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
I would be searching back.
There
What
are,
did I say about her?
There are quite a few. I don't know how many. I haven't actually counted how many characters, but I would say there are probably over 20.
Yeah.
Because and the names were difficult. Oh, trying to think of different names for them, because there's only so many names you can think of to where you aren't actually naming people you know. You know, like
yeah,
like James Caldwell is one of the police officers, and his name, you know, was pretty easy, but then when you go along and you're getting to name 20, you're like thinking of people from your childhood, you're like, oh no, I can't use that name.
I wouldn't have that problem. I don't remember anyone. But it's so interesting to me that you could just find and take the beginning of your parents' story and just kind of fill in all these things. I mean, I write a sermon, but then again, I'm not really writing the sermon, and that's God writing through me. And you have the exact same experience. It's not really you that are writing. It's the Holy Spirit writing through you. Did that surprise you?
Yeah, it would be times where I would be writing it and I would have goosebumps from head to toe. I'd be like, this is awesome. I love this. This is great. Or there'd be times when I would be stuck and I'd be like, Lord, I don't know where to go from here. You know, especially at the end of chapters, because you have to leave the chapters as kind of like a cliffhanger so that they go to the next page. But sometimes going to the next page as a writer, you're like, where do I go from here? And so that would require a lot of prayer with it. Plus you want to keep it, especially with a love story, because there is a lot of passion, there is a lot of love, and you want to keep it very modest, because it could be for age 12 or age 90, you know, depending on who's reading it. And you want it to be across the line for everyone to be able to read it.
Do you find that schools are using your book?
I don't know, but I do know that it is available if they wanted to. I would like to go and research that venue, but I do know it's being used in the jail ministry. Zion Churches is using it. Yeah.
In women's prison or men as well?
Women, yeah.
Because I know some guys that kind of got into this.
Yeah.
And I won't mention their names because that would embarrass them, but they borrowed my book. And
did they? Okay.
Yeah, and they were reading it. And I think it started out with, you've got to read this book. It's really good. Okay. And then they really got into the storyline. So you have something in here that appeals to everyone that has, it's kind of like a chick flick on print.
But it appeals to both, to male and female. Because I know one young man who read it, who's 14 and just loves it, just absolutely loves it. And then I know a few men who've read it and just absolutely love it. And we're waiting for the sequel to come out.
As am I.
Even though there's, you know, the flower on the cover, it's still...
It doesn't bother anyone at all.
Right.
How'd you come up with Picture on the Wall for a title, by the way?
That's a good question right there. I didn't have a title. It was gonna. I think I was gonna name it "Born to Love" or something, you know, uninspired. Let's write this whole book, 65,000 words, and then let's just throw whatever as a title, right? But it actually, I had the words on the screen, and it's where Maggie is being berated by her father, okay? And remember, her father's an alcoholic, and he's drunk, and he's being very unkind to her, and she has her head down, and she looks up at the picture on her wall, which is a picture of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. And when I had that on the computer screen, that jumped off at me, like not like highlighted, but like it jumped out at me like picture on the wall. And that was where the title came from. Very
good. Where can we find the book?
You can find it at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, Tate Publishing, ChristianBooks.com.
Really? Yeah. It's there now?
Yeah, it was a bestseller on there for a while. Yeah.
Fantastic. Tell me, and I want to stress this, you did not publish this yourself.
No.
You did not pay a fee for this to be published. Tate Publishing picked you up as an author. How did you do that?
What you do is you submit it. They have a 4% approval rating. You submit it to them. They have acquisitions staff who read it over, and they either approve it or they deny it, and they have a 4% approval rating, which they did approve it. And they do require an author investment, but that's used towards publicity for the book.
Okay.
At the very end. at the very after they do the cover, and then the layout and the design, and then printing, and then they it goes towards publicity.
Publicity.
Yes.
I think that's pretty standard. Do you have an agent now?
I do. I have a literary agent. She helped me to submit the second one. So we have a couple venues for the second book to go with, and so we'll see.
Okay. Are you still with Tate?
Yes, for this one, yes.
Okay. Fantastic. What do you like about Tate so much that you would publish with him again? I mean, it's obviously a privilege, 4% approval rate, very small window there.
Right.
So they're picky about who they publish.
Right.
What do you enjoy about being with them?
They have an impeccable reputation. They pray with their authors. They're God-centered, you know. They're a very good publishing company.
Are they big?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're growing as we speak. I mean, they're just getting bigger and bigger, and they added a music.
Really?
And yeah, and they added video.
Wow.
Which is great, to their books, like video trailers.
I'm sorry, you said video, and I'm thinking, this should be a movie. Why not
That
make
would be
this a
wonderful.
movie? Come on, let's get off the stick here and offer her a movie. You'd have rights to approve the script.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I like about
great.
Tate, that you retain all copyright.
Do you?
You retain it all, yeah. It belongs to you.
That's
The author.
fantastic. What about people, women who are sitting at home and they say, well, I could do that. Is it that easy?
Yeah, do it. Write it. If you feel inspired, write a book.
I think I would get so bogged down in tech until it would take me forever, because I'd be going over everything. No, that doesn't sound right. That's not phrased right.
We all do that, though.
I'd be 109 by the time I finished.
I'm telling you, editing took a long, long time. The book took 3.5 years from start to finish. And I edited a lot of it over and over, because it's amazing how many ways you can say one thing. in the written word, it's unbelievable. I cannot even tell you, just even changing a couple words in a sentence, how it can change the dynamics of it. But when they start to write, my suggestion is just don't change anything when you first write it. You can always change it later. Just go with the flow, write it as you feel inspired. Just start to write and continue all the way until you're done, and then start to edit it. You know, it's hard in a Word document, though, because it underlines everything that you misspell. That's, you know, it'll underline the whole sentence if it's a run-on sentence, or...
Oh, my.
So that's kind of difficult. It's kind of hard to ignore that.
Yeah, I would imagine. That's why I have works. None of that in there, no. We just keep writing and writing and writing, and at the end you look and say, that's kind of long. I should probably put something in here to break it up. Who's your favorite character?
Oh, that's hard. I would guess Luke.
Luke?
Yeah,
Okay.
because he's very honest. He's really honest about his faults. He's really honest about his strengths. He's honest about his feelings for Maggie, and he's honest about his past. And when she believes in the Lord, and he questions it, which is fine, because when it comes down to it, he's being honest about it. He's not just covering it up and saying, you know, oh yeah, I believe too, or whatever it may be, so that they can be together. He says, you know, I really have doubts about this. So she prays about it, and then the Lord really shows up and shows off in his life, big time in the book. And I think that's why I like him so much, because he is so real. You know, he has some things that he's done in his past he's not so proud of, and but the Lord loves us, and
Yes.
and those things right there is what makes him such a dynamic character, and pretty close to my heart.
He is quite lovable for those reasons, because he is honest. He doesn't give you any false bravado that, oh yeah, I really like this girl, so I'm going to tell her whatever she wants to hear.
Right.
You've written him with such an honesty and such an openness. Who is Luke?
Well, Luke starts out as my dad, and then he takes on his own personality. I don't really know. I think he's a combination of a lot of different people. I would say probably a lot of very powerful men in my life that have been influential. My grandfather was very influential in my life. He taught me the scriptures when I was younger. He went to be with the Lord in '91. But before that, he would take me to church all the time. He would teach me about the Lord. His nickname for me was God's chosen child. He was
That's
very,
nice.
very loving, very beautiful person, and I miss him every day. You know, but I think that the male characters in my book probably take on, especially the main ones, take on the characteristics of probably the very strong, godly men in my life. Probably my husband too. You know, Luke is somewhat like him in some ways, especially when they're fishing.
Ah.
And you know, him and I went fishing on our first date.
Really?
Yeah.
And you stuck with him?
What am I? It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And we went it was a double date with his sister.
Okay.
And that was nice because his sister and I were best friends, and we still are. But at that time, it was like our little group, and we all went out and went fishing. And so when it talks about Luke in the book falling on the bank and into the water, that actually happened.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does your husband like this book?
Yes. That's interesting too. You have such great questions because I wanted to share this. What happened was that he wouldn't read it because he was afraid that he was to have a lot of influence on it and I might change what I had written. And because his opinion is really important to me in a lot of different ways, and I'm sure mine is to him also. And so he didn't read it, and then it was completed, so he did. He was downstairs and he was reading it, and I didn't see him for a couple hours, and then he came up, he got something to drink, and he went back downstairs. You know, we have like a tri-level home at that time. And then he was gone for a few more hours. He sat there and read it from cover to cover, 6 hours straight.
Yeah.
And he came up and he says, I love it. If this is exactly something that I would expect to pick up off a bookstore shelf and read. I mean, he just really liked it.
Was he surprised that it came from his wife?
He was pretty, yeah, he was like, wow, this is I really like this. This is quite good.
And that's the amazing thing because I talk to people that write books, but I have to tell you, this is one of the best books I have ever read.
Wow,
in that
thank
it
you.
reads as if you've been doing this for years. It's not written on such a level that the reader feels that you're talking down to them. And it's not so high above them that they have a dictionary next to them, but everyone that I've talked to that has read this relates to the book.
Wow.
And they look at the words and they say, this is really good. Where's the next one in the series? Because everyone assumes this is going to be a series with these characters as they go through different stages in their life. Is this a plan of yours?
Yes. The second book is based on their daughter, Luke and Maggie. It's based on Samantha. And that book is definitely going to be out by this year. That's the plan.
How do you introduce Samantha in Picture on the Wall?
Well, she's introduced at the very end of the book. In the epilogue, everything is wrapped up. You understand the full meaning of the title of the book, and then it talks about her. She's a little girl, and curly-headed, blonde-headed girl, and she's very much in love with the Lord, and you can tell just by the way she talks and acts. And so it kind of takes off from there into the second one.
So we know that Luke and Mary get married. That's kind of odd. Luke and Maggie get married. But they have a daughter. Any more kids?
Yeah, Nathan, their son, and he's in the second book too.
Okay.
And he's a couple years older than Samantha, and he's in high school. She's in junior high, and she kind of goes through a time where the Lord uses her in a way she's not quite sure of what's happening, and so the Lord sends her a mentor in David, which is another character in the book, and he helps and guides her with this gift that the Lord has given to her to help her to minister to other people.
Excuse me. You're not going to kill off any characters, are you?
No.
Good.
Wait.
Wait, oh no. I got to wait here. Okay.
Not that I'm aware of, unless we get to book 3.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to book 2 and book 3 and maybe book 4. You know, that you've got, like you said, you've got 20 characters here, so you can really branch off. I spoke briefly of a movie. And willing to shop it around for a movie?
if I could write it and put it into a screenplay, that would be good.
Okay.
But that's an idea.
Yeah, well.
I would really like that.
So would I. I can imagine these characters coming to life on the screen. There are a lot of different churches like, what's that, Flywheel and The Perfect Strangers. There are different churches that have done these movies, and I think this is well beyond that scope. So I don't see why you don't. You know.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like A Walk to Remember, kind of the feeling of that, or The Notebook, minus a couple of scenes.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
kind of like that feeling to it.
All the romance, and it grips you from the beginning. I mean, come on, who doesn't like a good fire? But it grips you, and as your husband can attest to, you start reading it and you say, okay, I'm just going to read for a little bit, then I'm going to put it away. And it's not that easy to do. You just keep reading and reading and reading until you're done. And then you go back and read it again.
I actually skimmed through it before I came today, so that I would have a little bit, you know, so it would refresh me, because even writing it, I get into reading it, and I read it here a while back, cover to cover, and I couldn't believe how much it made me feel, just renewed my faith. You know, made me feel like really good and like, wow, you know, it has a very encouraging message in it. And I'd love to give away the title. You know, I want to give away the title.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and do that.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, let's do it. Okay. Picture on the Wall, the title for the book, is based on each character's, the way they come in contact with the picture on the wall, which is a picture of Jesus. Okay. And Maggie, she finds strength in the picture on the wall, especially through the abuse she suffers from her dad. And through the picture on the wall, she finds strength and encouragement. You know, even during Jesus' darkest hour, when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he had to go face the hardest trial of his life, he prayed and the Lord helped him. And so she looks at the picture on the wall as a sign of strength for her. Now her father is the complete opposite. He doesn't want that picture in his home. Jesus is just a picture on the wall to him. It doesn't mean much to him. And he actually at one point says, I can't wait till you throw that picture in the trash. Now to Luke, it's salvation. Because when he comes across the picture on the wall, the Lord has led him through the whole book. Through the whole book, the Lord has led him to himself. Through dreams, through Maggie, through many different ways. And remember, Luke is the one that says, you know, I don't really know if I believe. And so when he comes in contact with the picture on the wall, it's the beginning of a new life for him. Everything that he's done up to that point, he realizes that it has all led him to this one moment, this one time, this one opportunity to make a decision for Christ. And so he's standing there in front of the picture on the wall, which is a different one. This is the third picture, second picture, I'm sorry. And he realizes that the dreams and everything he's had is actually Jesus. Now, he'd been taught as a little boy, but his father's gone. He died suddenly, and so he hadn't been taught any more about the Word. But when he comes in contact with the picture, he realizes that it was what his father had taught him from a child. And everything becomes very clear, and he becomes renewed, and his life becomes new, so much so that he has an effect on one of the hardest characters in the book, Jerry.
Yes.
He's a ruffian. He's a troublemaker.
That he is.
And so he has a profound effect on his life, because he wants to know, hey, what's happened to my friend Luke? You know, he used to be rough and tough, and now he's different in some way, and he seems peaceful, and he's not questioning life anymore. Everything makes sense. There's a purpose for him now. What is different? And what has changed this character, so much so that he wants it too. And that's what happens. We're the salt of the world. The Lord in us makes other people want the Lord too, because they see the goodness of God through us. And that's what happens with Luke, is that he changed so much and so profoundly that it affects Jennifer and Jerry, who becomes Jeremiah. And yeah. And then the end of the book is really great, what he ends up doing with his life.
Notice how she speaks and she doesn't give anything away, really. That's because you really have to read the book, and you will be a fan of hers for life. This is outstanding, just outstanding. Such an interesting, fun, easy read that has so many meanings and such depth to it at the same time. It's kind of like the Gospel of John. You can read it easily, but then you go back and you say, wait, this means da-da-da-da-da-da, and then you go back again and you find something else.
Right, there's many dimensions to it. It's amazing, like the dimensions of the parents and how we treat our children, and then the dimension of it being ministering to young people.
Sure.
You know, and who doesn't love a good love story?
Everyone does.
And it's nice, too, if you're a parent, you don't have to worry about what your kid's reading. It's morally sound. They can pick it up, they can read it. But it also pertains to, you know, the an audience of adults, too.
Definitely. And like you say, it's morally sound. So you're not preachy with it.
Right.
You're not preachy at all in this book. And yet the undercurrent of salvation runs throughout the book. And the way that it affects the characters, and Maggie just seems like, oh, she's just this outstanding believer that is not going to be persuaded by anything else in her life.
Yeah.
She's going to believe irrespective of what those around her believe. And that effect that she has on her world is astounding, and it certainly delivers to the believer the effect that we should have on our world.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be so, well, salvation is an active word, it's a verb.
Yeah.
It's not a noun. So we should be out there doing something, making an impact on our world.
Yeah.
As you're writing the second, that's going to be out toward the end of this year,
Yeah.
what do you think will happen? I know you haven't finished, but your mind is going in.
Oh, it's complete.
Direction.
It's completed.
What?
Yes. Yes, it's in the editing stages. And I've already, in the cover is being made for it also. A pretty interesting cover, and it has, like with Picture on the Wall, it shows their back.
Okay.
It's a similar thing, but it's Samantha and David are the two main characters in that book, and it shows their backs, and they're standing on a path, which is the journey of a young prophet.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's come along.
And you may not be able to see this very well, ladies, but we all love a good back. Perfect, absolutely perfect. And they're clothed, which makes it even better. And now we find out that Samantha's on her way.
Yes, yeah.
And she has the walk of a prophet.
Yes.
Or some people may say prophetess. But what's the first thing she does?
Okay. I really was very prayerful about this book, because you have a fine line that you can tread with it, where you have to be careful because you want to stay within the gifts, and you want to keep the character very pure, very I would say very solid in the Lord. And so what I did with her is, she's 12 years old. She's getting ready to turn 13 years old, okay? And she's headed to her friend's house, whose name is Tiffany. Okay, I picked names that were kind of from that era, you know, like the 80s and 90s. And so she's headed to her friend's house. They're upstairs. They're trying on clothes, you know, for church, shoes, high heel shoes, and they're trying to walk in them because they're young girls, and it's quite difficult to walk in high heels as a young lady. And so then all of a sudden, Samantha feels something from the Lord concerning Tiffany's mom. So she sits down on the bed and she gets really quiet, and Tiffany's wondering what's happening with her friend, and she's has her head bowed. She's really prayerful, and she says, "I don't know, I just feel something for your mom. We should pray." And that's what she does, is she prays for the mom, and then within seconds you hear the mom scream downstairs. So they go running downstairs, and what's happened is that the mom is straining pasta in the sink, and the water splashes back onto her hand, and so she's got cold rags on it. She's running it under cold water. She's sitting at the table thinking, you know, the next step is probably in the emergency room, you know, and she's got it all wrapped up. And so as both girls are standing there watching, you know, horrified that she's been burned this badly, the mother starts to unwrap her hand, and there's not a mark on her hand.
I'm hooked. I'm hooked already. That is fantastic.
And at this point, Tiffany looks at Sam like, okay, what is going on, and what exactly is this? And Samantha doesn't know. She doesn't know either. She doesn't understand exactly what's happening. The Lord's just giving her feelings, right? And so the Lord sends her David, who is an assistant youth pastor, He's a little older. He's about 15. And he kind of mentors her. And at first he's reluctant because he thinks, you know, how is she going to receive this? How is she going to receive me coming up to her out of the blue? He doesn't really know this girl. And saying, hey, you know, I'm supposed to mentor you and you know, be your friend and help you through this time. Because with this gift, or, you know, comes persecution, obviously.
Certainly.
And so the Lord sends him, and it works out fine because they get along really great. They get along really good.
How do her parents feel about David?
Yeah, they like him, and it's more of a friendship. Now, of course, Sam's younger. He's a little older, so she's going to have a little bit of feelings for him because he's an older guy and he's very sweet and protective over her. And that's fine, but he doesn't reciprocate or have any of those feelings because I felt like that would be
inappropriate.
Yes,
sure.
But as they get older now, you know, that's
Things
in the
change.
book too, right? Right.
Yeah. What a great love story already beginning there.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I'm excited.
You're gonna love it.
Oh,
You're gonna love it.
You
are.
Will. Wow, that's fantastic. Love the opening with Sam finding out, not exactly finding out, but suspecting something's not right. And that is so often the way the gifts work. We kind of have that little germ.
Yeah.
And it expands, and God sends someone in our life, and we don't necessarily know exactly how to take that person, but, you know, they're willing to help, so we're willing to listen, and the gift just grows. Because even though God has given us a gift, it doesn't come full blown. We have to study, we have to show ourselves approved, we have to go through the paces to develop that gift. And as you write about it, I'm going to assume that Sam comes into her own.
Yeah.
I just called her Sam, and I don't even know that. But
yeah, that's perfect. Yes.
She starts learning from David. David is giving her things, increasing her knowledge.
Yeah, and also the pastor at the church who is friends with her dad, Luke.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Luke. Okay.
He does a sermon about it in the book.
Oh.
And it's kind of short, but I think that as the reader, you want to know, when you're reading it, you want to know, what are the details, how do you get this gift? And this gift is available for everyone. It's not, it's something to be desired, you know, the spiritual gifts.
Yes, we all have a gift. We all do. It's just a matter of us finding out what that gift is and then allowing God to develop that gift in us as we pursue it. Of course, we don't get to pick, I want that one, and I want, well, not that one, that's not a good one. I want this one. Yeah, we don't get to do that. The gifts are from the Holy Spirit. He kind of chooses what we'll have. But this is exciting. This is very exciting. How excited is your husband to read the second one?
Yeah, he hasn't read it yet. He'll probably read it, like in the final stages, he'll probably read it as the final edit. But he hasn't read that one yet. But he's doing kind of the same thing as the first one, which is fine, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, since he doesn't have a choice, it's fine. It is what it is, so he has no choice in the matter. You know, just sit here and wait until she gives me a copy, and then I'll read it. Yeah, that's what I'll do. That's great. And your husband's a terrific guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's just fantastic, and I can't imagine your boys. Did you want a girl? I'll send you my niece. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I have a niece, River. She's 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my sister's daughter, and I get to see her, and we get to draw together and do lots of fun things. Oh, she's so sweet.
And you get to buy all these pretty clothes now.
Yeah,
that's fun.
I get to buy the Easy Bake Oven for her birthday. You know, my sons were Legos or, you know, Star Wars stuff.
Yeah. I have a nephew that he just wanted things that he could fight with. I was so happy with the girls. Well, since we're a family of women, it was nice to have a nephew, so I'm not going to say that, but I didn't want to fight. I wanted to play with the stuff. But they're fun to dress. They really are fun to dress. I get to go to the store and pick out, oh, that's cute. With my nephew, here, go ahead. Knock yourself
Your
out.
animals will work.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter with them. You're writing, you've just finished writing.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the third one?
Well, I have written a couple other books. One is called Amanda, and I just kind of I'm about 75 pages into it, and I'm going to see, because now Picture on the Wall was originally 2 books. Yeah, and I put them together, which was the advice of my sister, Tammy.
Okay.
She said to put the 2 together, that it would be longer, which is right, because otherwise it would have been a novelette. A novelette is anything under 150 pages.
Okay.
Anything over is a novel. And so I put them together, and I was really glad I did, because it just really flowed and brought it all together, and I was able to add more to the storyline that I didn't even realize was there until I started to intertwine these 2 stories. That's why it says part 2 in the middle of it. Yeah.
I can imagine it being 2.
Yeah,
Really can. It's,
I know.
It's like there was supposed to be one, and apparently you wouldn't listen, so he had to send your sister to tell you to make this one. But it's absolutely an amazing feat, and I'm in awe of your talent. I really am. I wish I had that kind of talent. I do sermons.
That's your talent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's amazing.
That's
I think
what
that's
I'm
beautiful.
called to do, but
yeah,
you touch so many people's lives just with your words in a novel that are undoubtedly more than what I will touch through a sermon, simply because people are a lot more willing to listen to what's in a book than they are what comes across a pulpit. People are excited by this. Of course, now you have to put it on a pad so they can read it, but...
Well, if you ever want to put it into your sermons into a book form, get a hold of wordproductions.org, and I'll help you to publish it.
Yeah, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. But what do your kids think about your career?
They love it.
Do they?
Yeah.
Do they go around? My mom's an author. Yeah.
I don't know. No, but they love it. They love to hear about the new things that are happening, and I know my oldest son was really excited because it was a bestseller in Australia. And he's like, "Wow, that's really neat that it's worldwide like that."
Well, I need to know. Do you plan on going on because you've been to a lot of book signings, and you've done a lot of traveling, just signing any European plans or down under plans to do the same?
I don't know. I don't know if I could fly that far.
Oh my goodness.
Be on a flight for like 24
scary
hours.
Flyer? Really?
I don't know if I could be on a flight for 24 hours, maybe 2 hours. I might fly to like
2 hours.
I'll fly to like Ohio.
On purpose.
Or take a train, whichever.
Oh my goodness, that is just terrible. Really? Come on.
Well, if the opportunity presented itself and someone from there was like, you know, I might consider it.
So if you, and I'm just going to pray that this is turned into a movie.
Yeah.
Would you fly out to Hollywood, or would you insist, oh no, you come here and film? What would you do?
I would probably just be as available as possible to do whatever needs to be done. I do know it probably needs to be turned into a screenplay of some kind.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be.
But that would be a good direction for it, because it almost reads like that. I mean,
it does. I mean,
it's pretty detailed to where you could actually picture that happening.
It's so well written, and you give the details so explicitly until you can visualize this actually happening. So it would make a great movie. You know, add a few things, a little embellishments here and there, and so much the better. But yeah, this would be fantastic. Do that.
Okay.
You have my permission.
I'll do that. If anybody's watching and wants to do that, you know.
Yeah, do that. And I'm always about action figures or dolls or something. And, you know, Luke and Maggie would make a great doll.
They would.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, so we have to get on that.
Yeah, we could, Christian heroes.
There you go. Big, fantastic. And again, because it's not in the 1800s and we're not on the prairie, it's a fantastic story for today. I would love to see this in public schools.
Yeah, I would too.
Because
that would be amazing.
It's not a preachy book, and you're not espousing any doctrine or anything like that. You're giving solid moral values here, and certainly our kids could use a lot of that in today's society. Where you're currently living, have you thought about going into their school systems?
I have given it to a couple kids in my neighborhood, and they've passed it around, and with their friends and everything. About 17 kids total read it, and what I did is I told them to sign it because I thought it'd be really neat to get the book back.
Yeah.
You know, and have them all read it and then sign it and then send it back to me. I thought that would be so neat. I haven't received it back, which is fine because that means it's still circulating, right? But that would be very neat.
And you're never getting it back, you know that, right?
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, as long as it's still going and they're still passing around and sharing it, that's the main thing. And there is a book in Israel, in the library in Israel, which is kind of neat. And there's a book at McDonald Library too. The few different libraries that I know of.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. Tell me, now that you're really big, what are you going to do? You finished 2 books. Started on the 3rd, Amanda, right? Any plans for another character, a new character, maybe?
Yeah, a new storyline completely.
Okay.
Yeah. That is, and I'm thinking about maybe a Last Day type book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I've been thinking a lot about how there's a few pastors right now who are teaching about being prepared for disaster. Like, I mean, any type of disaster, like a tornado or a, you know, like the Katrina thing or anything like that. And I was thinking that it might be kind of neat to write a book about, say, either a female or a male who's in that kind of time frame and having to deal with that and how you would deal with that when the world's kind of falling apart around you. And you have to survive and the Lord leading you and how things would happen. I think that that would be a really neat book.
Because she's got to fall in love.
Yeah, yeah. There's always got to be love.
Yeah, there has to be.
It makes the world go round.
Exactly. I can't imagine her not. Yes, the things are falling apart and the world is coming to an end. Oh,
but I love you.
Yeah, that kind of thing. That's just what makes us swoon.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
I love it.
I like that direction. That would be very interesting.
Yeah.
In doing that, you're thinking about a title yet? I don't have one. I just want to push it.
Not yet. I think that the title will come after it's written because that's kind of how it's gone for the books so far that I've written. The title comes after.
Since Amanda's already in the work, how old is she?
She is 17.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of the characters are young.
Very important age, though.
Yeah,
17,
it
right
is.
on that cusp of adulthood.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. It's a very important age because it's the jumping point for your life. You know, I always knew I wanted to be a mom when I was younger, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a mom and be married, and I, when I was 17, that was my, because you know how the guidance counselor would ask you, what would you like to do? And
and that's
I was
what
like, I don't know. I mean, outside of being a mom, that's what I want to be.
And look at you, you're a mom.
Yes, and I'm very happy for that.
Yeah.
I love my kids.
You're stuck with them now. So
no returns.
No. But the 11-year-old.
Yeah.
His mom writes romance. Does he find that a little, ugh?
No.
No?
No, actually, I read the second book to him.
Oh, really?
Samantha, yes. I read it to him, and he loves it. Absolutely loves it.
Does he have a little crush on Samantha?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm just saying because it's easy to fall in love with the character in a book. And as you well know, women do that, and so do men. They fall in love with the character in a book, and they're just excited about that character.
Right.
So I'm just asking, at 11 years old, he may be, ugh.
Yeah, he thinks, he said that when I was reading it to him, that it made it, I like this book. It makes me feel really happy when you read it. I really like this book. Because it's very positive. It's really upbeat.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he really enjoyed it.
I'm a little surprised from an 11-year-old, but at the time he was an 11 and he still felt that way.
No, no, this was probably within the past 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
And it helped me too.
Your 16-year-old, is he using it to pick up girls? Just asking. It's a good way. Hey, my mom wrote this. Why don't you read it? You know, it's a pretty good book. It's called Picture on the Wall. Why don't you read it? Tell me what you think. I'm sensitive.
I think that he should give it as a gift if he wants.
There you go.
Know? Absolutely. As many people as can get it is great.
I don't think he'd be interested in giving it to a bunch of his male friends, so I think I see it as a good way to pick up girls. So, although he may have his eye already on a certain young lady, in which case they can sit down and read the book together.
That's interesting, because since they've been little, I've prayed for the Lord to send them good wives. You know, that's important. I think the parents should pray for their children to marry good spouses.
Definitely. It's what makes the marriage a lot easier if they have a spouse that, not just that they have chosen, but one God has prepared for them as well. And the fact that you've done that since they were little is paramount to the success of that, because they're going to look and be influenced by what you have done. And certainly the fact that you've put God into the mix from their birth is vital to them now as they enter those teen and adult years. So I imagine your 16-year-old, he's kind of looking and thinking, not yet, but when the time comes, I know that God has someone for me. And that's really important. And I'm the first one to tell a teenager, don't marry the first woman that you marry. I mean, the first one, no, marry the first one that you marry, the first one that you date. Make sure that it's what you are, you see God giving to you as far as marriage, but find out about socialization and what a relationship really is. So I do believe in that, and I teach that to young people all the time. Find out what it's about. Don't just run out there, but find out. Sarah, thank you for being with me. Thanks for the surprise. I'm so happy to see you.
I am beyond thrilled to be here for your birthday. How exciting.
Yeah, it is. And my heart almost, I looked up and said, wow. Oh, wow, this is great. The name of the book is Picture on the Wall. The new one is coming out this year. You are going to be thrilled with this book. You're going to be thrilled with the words that are said. And thank you for joining me on today's Christian Woman. Watch WIGNTV. You will find something there that will definitely be pleasing to you and something that will encourage you. Get the book. You're going to love it. Until we meet again, may God bless you and keep living saved.